Deputy Brendan Howlin.
Thank you, in the worst of times, Taoiseach, the previous administration had a good record with dealing with public servants and their representatives when money was very tight and this country was under the cosh of the Troika. Obviously, maintaining industrial peace during that period was in stark contrast to what happened in other programme countries. Right now, as our economy is improving, we can see a fall in unemployment. We see very grave concerns arising across the public services. Members of An Garda Síochána are outside this House at the moment. Nurses are on work to rule in Our Lady of Lourdes Hospital. Teachers are planning industrial action, and other elements of the public service are also indicating that they will want changes in the negotiated pay settlements. So can I ask the Taoiseach if he will confirm that the Haddington Road and Lansdowne Road agreements will be fully implemented, both in terms of the pay restoration but also in the time frame set out in those agreements? Or is it his plan to accelerate those payments? Will he accelerate the rate of pay restoration in the light of the economic improvements that the government has constantly underlined? And in particular, will he accelerate the restoration through reduced PRD or pension rate reductions to public sector pensioners?
Thank you, Deputy Howlin. Taoiseach.
First of all, I think I should say that in your previous capacity as Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform in the previous government, you did an enormous job in dealing with very difficult circumstances, Deputy Howlin, and I have commended you publicly before for your engagement with trades unions and public sector pay in very difficult circumstances, given the nature of the decisions that the government of the day had to make, particularly in the first 3 years. Thank you. But I thought I should. No, I thought I should say it anyway, Deputy Martin. You know, partnership. The programme for government contains a very strong commitment to the Lansdowne Road Agreement, and I confirm that will be fully implemented, as Haddington Road will be. That gives a good framework for the next few years for the government's proposals for a continuation of public service reform, as well as setting out an agreed pathway to pay restoration for public servants that is affordable to taxpayers. It's also important to respect the fact that the overwhelming majority of public servants who have committed to working within that framework and have made very considerable sacrifices in the interest of restoring the fiscal health of the country. This has been confirmed, as you're aware, by your successor, the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform, in his recent meeting with representatives of the public service trade unions, and is the basis for all engagements with ministers now with the bodies representing staff in their particular sectors. The government is committed to achieving its programme on a sustainable fiscal basis. Having certainty over the next few years on the question of the pay bill is of absolutely critical importance to the future work of the government and underpinning an affordable public pay bill. It will allow for funding of some necessary staff increases to meet needs in critical areas of the public service. The agreements have to be and will be implemented in their entirety as the best way forward to meeting the needs of our public service in terms of pay policy, and while also continuing to reform work practices and deliver a public service that is held up as a model for others. The government would like to encourage those who have not yet signed up to the Lansdowne Road Agreement to give consideration to this. These are difficult choices and difficult circumstances, and I know of some of the unions who have made their voting intentions clear. I want to emphasise, Deputy Howlin, that there is no desire on the part of the government to be at odds with their employees on this issue, and the Government has fully funded the commitments, as you're well aware, that have been made under the Lansdowne Road Agreement. However, I do want to emphasise, Count Corla, that the Government intends to keep faith with the overwhelming majority of public servants who have committed to working within that framework and have made considerable sacrifices in restoring the economic health of the country.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy Howlin.
I thank the Taoiseach for his kind comments, but I'm a little bit confused. Is the Taoiseach saying that the time frame and the rate of pay restoration will only be done in accordance with the agreement done under Haddington Road and Lansdowne Road, and there will be no deviation from that? Is that the stated government position? And secondly, can I ask, what plans does the government have for addressing recruitment difficulties in key areas, such as in the nursing sector, where there are now 1,800 vacant posts? And will his government step outside the architecture of the Haddington Road-Lansdowne Road agreement to deal with that particular issue?
Thank you, Deputy Taoiseach.
In respect of the latter, there is no embargo on recruitment, provided that the hospital in question in recruiting has the resources to recruit the staff that be necessary, and even and there is particularly no embargo in respect of critical staff being employed in ICU. In ICU. Obviously, as Deputy Howlin is only too well aware, you can't have an open-ended recruitment process if the money and the resources are not there to do that, for either for particular hospitals or indeed for any department. The Minister hasn't commented upon any expediting of the agreements, except to say that both will have to be implemented in their entirety, and commend the many hundreds of thousands of public servants who have committed to working within that regime. Clearly, for those who are outside, there's a willingness to work with those unions to see how that might be moved on. But you cannot have a situation where the same benefits apply for those who have voted to remain outside, because the considerable sacrifices implemented by many of those public servants is in the interest of restoring the financial health of the country, and that's why the FEMPI Act was put through, as you're aware, before the Christmas period.
That concludes